I've always wondered about that because I watch a lot of YouTube and online creators and less films, but just more like people who make videos. And to your point, if the audio is bad, you have to turn off the video. But if the audio is at least good, you can make do with like some out of focus issues on the screen, or like, like anything on the screen is fine generally as long as the audio is fine. Um but yeah, vice versa, it's tough. And you know what's funny? I was talking to somebody about this today. We're both book creators, and I'm trying to figure out what is it that I can mass produce in terms of content that will bring more people to me, because putting my phone up and just taking a video like this where I'm using the audio from the phone mic, so it's like echoey and not really the crispest or nicest, along with just like the phone camera and everything, with some just like generic sun lighting or whatever, nothing like nice, whatever this is that I have going on right now. If I were to make a video like this and post it, 120, 150 views, like max pushed on TikTok. I make a video just like this saying whatever I want to for like how many ever seconds, 500, 600, 700, 800, like it will keep continuing to be pushed. I looked at like the more popular creators online, or I looked at the more popular creators to do like kind of like a little case study for myself of like who's popular, what do theirs look like, what do theirs sound like, and then what are they saying. And it's like there are creators who look visually really good and also use a mic and record on a camera or something like that. There's also creators who record on their phone, but then they have like a lav mic to like hook up to their phone to like have good audio. But then there's creators who just put a phone down like in front of them on the table and just have kind of like a up angled view, phone mic, using the phone mic, using whatever it is, like no specific lighting, maybe just something to brighten their face, and that's it. And so like their voice does have like the roomy echo and things like that, and theirs also still do well. So it's such an interesting thing to have to work through, of like the thing that I want is not working, but the thing that I don't want is working for me. Now, people have made both attempts work, but um I just
Hmm.
don't know, um
Hmm.
you know things like that.
All right. It's interesting.
So
It is.
it's interesting to think about that.
There's so many things, so many ways to go about, sharing online. And it's very, I found myself too when I would share like certain ideas. I was like, this is just an idea. It does for some reason, right? It just does really well. And I didn't pay too much, attention to it. I didn't put too much effort into it. But the things I do put too much effort, I've learned before, like, this doesn't get much attention. So yeah, then it became just okay. I'm just gonna, do what I feel, what I like, and then whatever happens, happens. But it is very odd, bro, to navigate social media even more because it changes. That's what I learned working for Meta. Ooh, let's see, when I worked for Meta, yeah, I went for Meta. Like I learned like everything was changing. The rules were changing, the laws were changing within the system, and the trends were so fast and coming in so quickly every single day, something new. And we had to learn new regulations and laws almost every day because something was changing. So, and I knew now, like, okay, I can't keep up with social media, so I'm gonna just focus on what I like doing instead of like, going about it as far as, you know, what's going on out there, because it's always something new. It's pretty tough navigating. So it makes sense why that's some people's jobs every day to pay attention and to see what's new, what people are liking and not
Hmm.
liking, because that's a whole job right there. Just
It
keeping
is
up with
now.
it.
It's a whole career
It
right there.
is, yeah.
It is a whole career. I remember you saying at a previous time talking about this concept of dummy work.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, can you further elaborate on what you mean by dummy
Oh
work?
yeah, yeah. So dummy work is basically doing work that um, you don't get paid for, of course.
Hmm.
When you're always doing something like this, some kind of labor work, artist work, you know, you wanted to get some compensation out of it. You don't really want to work for free, especially if you do it for
Mhm.
a long time. Like you expect something, but you know, my professor said do a lot of dummy work because where you don't get paid, right? You do it for free or you do it for very little money because
Mhm.
it helps you grow and it gives you more access or gives you more opportunities to learn quicker. As per
Mhm.
se, as someone who's turning down jobs because it's not enough
Mhm.
payment, right? It's not they're not getting paid enough. So they're
Yeah.
turning down this job, they're turning down that job, they're saying no to friends, they're saying no to family, and they're missing out
Mhm.
on those opportunities to learn about you know, about themselves or grow in their skill set. So she was
Mhm.
just saying, do a lot of dummy work because, yeah, you seem like a dummy for doing it for free, but it's gonna pay off in the end, you know, when it comes to your experience and you know your skills. So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't understand it at first then, but
Mhm.
going into my fields, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've been doing that.
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of cheap work still, you know, even
Yeah.
though I have jobs in different, you know, already different realms of finances coming in, but I'm like, yeah, I don't want to skip out on doing that because I want to
Mhm.
keep learning, you know, keep learning,
No,
keep
that makes
growing.
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the whole when you're going through college. Like I remember when I was first applying for internships, my dad was like, "Don't skip out on internships if they're like just
Hmm.
because they're not paid,
Hmm.
right? Apply for anything because you need experience. You don't need money." And in my brain at that time, I was like, "What are you
Right.
talking about?
Hmm.
Like I still have to live here
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like live in this apartment away from home. I can't just like live at home and do work or whatever it is."
Hmm.
I'm not applying to anything that's like unpaid.
Yep.
I get what he was coming from, but to my ears at that time, I was like, "There's no,
Hmm.
not at all. Don't
Hmm.
you no." But I can understand for certain, career fields where that is
Hmm.
a bit more acceptable and
Right.
almost sometimes nicer.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it is cool to work on a whole production maybe and not get paid for it, but you learn a lot.
Hmm.
But going to work 8 hours a day as an accountant and not getting paid as an accounting intern and not getting paid
Exactly.
for it is
That's
like actually bad.
yeah. Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
different industries may have
Yeah.
their like different rules or
Yep.
whatever, but
True.
that was interesting. That was interesting.
Yeah.
So then
True. True.
you've been a dancer for a while.
Mm.
How has diving into film changed like your relationship with dance?
Mm.
Do you feel like it's more performative now, less performative? Do you like to do more performative versus more just
Mhm.
like chill sessioning, like battling that kind of stuff? Or like
Mm.
what's your relationship like with dance now that you're
Yeah.
a master cinematographer?
That's not that, bro. Not that at all. But nah, bro. I think it's helped me a lot with dance because it made me watch myself more. And I never used to watch
Mm-hmm.
myself. I never liked dancing in front of mirrors. Never like it. I never like dancing in front of video because you know I'm comfortable. I'm like I want to, you know, I mean, it throws me off. But
Mm-hmm.
then get into film and you know being very detailed with that made me like let me watch myself in details. Let me really watch
Mm-hmm.
myself and let me look in the mirror. Let me you know I want to see myself how out of perspective may see me. You know how does
Yeah.
it look because I may feel like oh this is really cool. I think that was cool. I'll look back on video like no like it wasn't really then like that
Yeah.
I don't want to be, I guess, I was at the time, at the beginning of filming myself a lot, I realized I didn't want to be inside myself so much to where I'm oblivious to how
Mm-hmm.
I'm, you know, to how it looks from the outside, you know, because I can,
Yeah.
you know, I can dance. I can, okay, that feels good. I felt good, but, you know, I still have doubts still. So why am I
Yeah.
having doubts? Okay, let me feel myself and see why I'm having these doubts. And then okay, I see it now. Because I really wasn't, you know, clean on this or that. My foundation
Mm-hmm.
wasn't tuned up as much as I thought. So let's work on
Mm-hmm.
this, work on that. So filming definitely helped me, you know, pursue growth in dance because I started, you know, seeing myself from the outside and
Yeah.
then kind of and not in a sense as being like uh I guess in any kind of hindrance, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or worrying about what people thought, you know. But I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see how it looked from the outside because I didn't want
Yeah.
to be so caught up in my feelings that I
Yeah.
overlooked something, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely helped with dance, and I still do that. I
Mm-hmm.
still feel myself when I
Yeah.
train. I'm like, okay, let me see how this look. Okay, look. All right, I
Mhm.
need to work on this still. I need to work on that. So it's still that. I still do that all the time now. So
Mhm.
I think
Do
it's
you,
gonna
do you
be.
have do you have training days where you don't film at all and just train, or do you try to like film at least a little bit each time you train?
Oh yeah, no, there's still definitely those times where I just don't film at all because I don't feel like it. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to film. I just want to get out and let loose and just
Mhm.
burn, calories. Basically,
Yeah.
I just want a good workout. I don't want to focus on, how I look. I just want to get a good workout in and sweat
Yeah.
and get So yeah, definitely don't film
Mm.
all the time, but when I do, yeah, I get very now I have to sit and look at it and pick apart,
Yeah.
how I'm looking.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
film on your phone or your
Oh no,
camera?
I use one of my cameras. It's a R6 Mark II. It's just a
Mhm.
mirrorless, Canon
Mhm.
mirrorless, but easy to set up, easy to use. And I just, put it up and, see how it looks, and then I can, yeah, go from there.
Yeah.
So
What lens do you have on it?
Well, I use the 15 to 35 RF. It's like a
Okay.
2.8, and it's
Okay.
great in low light. It's great if I'm in, dark
Mhm.
conditions. So, but mainly I use it. I used to use it a lot when I'm in the gym. In my other
Mhm.
apartment I used to live, it was just
Yeah.
apartment gym. Go in there a lot, film a lot. But now I moved
Yeah.
uh, to like a house, basically like a older house.
Mhm.
And we're upstairs. There's a bottom floor and there's up in the top floor. We have the top floor and there's another unit at the bottom.
Mhm.
But now I'm finding different ways to train or different places to train and figuring out
Right.
like, how to do that now in this new area.
Yeah. How was that feeling living in like a house versus an apartment? Because we're in the exact same setup.
Ah, okay, okay.
And like we're also the top floor and then
Nice.
somebody else at the bottom.
Yeah, yeah.
But I told I usually whenever we're moving looking for a house, like I cannot go back to an apartment
Mm,
phase.
mhm,
Like
mhm.
I have to live in like a townhome or a
Yeah,
condo or like a house or whatever it is. I can't do
yeah, bro.
apartment managers anymore.
Exactly. No, I'm with you, bro. That's me and Amy were the same, bro. We're like, this has to be our last.
Yeah.
We got so tired of apartments and the whole just it was always
Mm-hmm.
issues, always issues and changing of management and then different things. And so we're like,
Yep.
man, Amy found this place. We're like, let's just go, let's do it. It's
Yeah.
older and the oldie stylish, those older houses that are
Yep.
very like historic or whatever. So
Yeah.
it has its like characteristics, but it's very nice. It felt very homey
Mm-hmm.
right when we walked in to check
Mm-hmm.
it out. So we're loving it right now. Plus, it's in an area where we're close to everything. Amy can do her runs everywhere. The
Right.
gym we
Yeah.
go to is right across the street.
Mm-hmm.
Parks everywhere. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
close. But yeah, yeah, this feels much better. But now we're focused on like, okay, now we want to get to a house with some land.
Yeah.
Some backyard, front yard.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
next step, basically.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, bro, appreciate it.
That's a very stressful time
Yeah, I bet.
to
you
to
know.
find a house.
Yeah, yeah,
But when you do and you're like, oh, this is my place. This is like our place.
hmm
It's the best thing ever. I've told Ayushi multiple times since moving to Pennsylvania. Like I miss
Mm,
the Carrollton house. Like I
hmm
miss the house that I had in Texas so much.
It's nice, yeah.
Um, and
Mm.
I think about like probably every month, like what would I change when I go back? What would I change when like
Ah,
what are the next things that I want to change or add or remove or whatever it is? Because just like, depending on wherever you live, you realize like I don't like this, I do like this, I don't
true,
like this, I do like this,
true.
etc.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you mentioned staying fit and everything, and I think everybody by now has probably knows you're the god of fingertip push-ups.
Fingertip, bro.
So
You're funny, bro.
what's your like routine like? What do you focus on?
I think right now is a lot is it's mainly full body stuff, bro. Again, a lot of leg, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of knee over toes type stuff. Of course, keep that in my
Mm,
regimen, and a lot of running.
mm-hmm.
So I sprint a lot now. I'm trying to get, my mile as low as I can, my mile
Yeah.
time, and now I run with the vest. I run with my vest now,
Okay.
so I can kind of, even push that time lower as I can, and that
Mm-hmm.
helps. I've been testing it out outside, running with that
Yeah.
vest, like 20 pounds. I don't go too high because it starts, yeah, I don't want to kill my knees doing it.
Right, exactly.
So I go 20 or lower and then see how it feels. And then I'll do, we live upstairs, right? In our unit
Right.
has the stairs from the outside up. So I use the stairs to jump. I just jump up the
Mhm.
stairs every step or down
Okay.
just to kind of finish that off to see how I feel
Yep.
with the vest. And then take the
Yep.
vest off, jump more up the stairs.
Mhm.
And now it's just a lot of stuff like that. So I'm squatting, I'm using squat racks, I'm using hack squat racks now. I'm using like all
Mhm.
these calf raises stuff, all these leg press machines. Like I'm using a lot of
Yeah.
machines now, but I want to still stick to just the full body,
Mhm.
pull up type stuff, or just monkey bars,
Mhm.
climbing on monkey bars back and forth, like
Yeah.
just basic stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't want to
How do you
tear up my body too much, but I want to still
Yeah.
test it out.
No, I would,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Speaking of tearing a body,
yeah.
I think I tore something in my shoulder. I don't
So
know yet. I have to get it checked out, but I think I tore something in my shoulder
okay.
because I've been going so well since like January or February,
Uh-huh.
and I went to, I think it was 2.5, 3 weeks ago. I was at the gym, chest day,
Mhm.
hit my dumbbell press,
Mhm.
incline,
Mhm.
hit my flies. I was feeling great. I said, you know what? I've been itching to get my muscle up back.
Mm.
Because I lost my muscle up once I stopped training as much.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So my pull-ups, they aren't like deep enough. And so I'm working on the pull-up strength, but
Okay.
I have to work on the pressing strength as well from the top of the bar.
Mm.
And so this gym that I have this gym does not have a single pull-up bar.
What?
They have handles on the
Oh,
machines to
oh,
like,
the
that kind of
handles.
shit, but they don't have proper like a straight
Interesting.
bar.
Interesting.
And so I would get behind the Smith machine and how they have like the actual frame of the
Right.
fucking
Yeah,
machine.
that.
And so I would get a stool and then just stand on the stool and then jump up on top of the
Right,
machine
right, right,
to try and like
right.
and
Pull
then
it.
start doing straight bar dip presses.
Mhm. Yeah.
The next day my shoulder started hurting and I was so sad.
Interesting.
MJG, I was so sad. It hasn't healed yet, and I think I definitely strained, if not tore something there.
Could be
So I
strained.
have to get it checked out.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping it's strained.
Can you move? I mean, do you
But
have at least
I can
some
move it.
range
No,
of
I can move
motion?
it and everything. It just
It
hurts.
just
Range of motion is
hurts.
full. It's
Oh,
just full where it
I think
was.
it
It just
is. It
hurts.
could be strained, bro. It could be strained.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but like I haven't been able to train
Yep.
properly since for the past 3 weeks again.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And even though I was training with a trainer. So like we were going safe
Wow. Wow.
the entire time. It's just that one day that I was like, you know what, fuck it,
Yeah.
and then I got fucked.
I see. I see.
So this is the PSA for all you people out
Easy.
there.
For real.
Don't just say fuck it and do whatever. Actually think about the workouts
Mhm.
that you're doing. And if you haven't done something in a while,
Yeah.
don't. Just don't.
Yeah.
This is just another injury for me to add to my list of things now.
It could be strained, bro.
Um,
I feel like having that much range of motion and you're not in severe pain. It could be
yeah,
strained that just, a few more weeks, maybe a month, just not
hopefully.
too much activity on that arm,
Yeah,
shoulder at least. But I feel like yeah, it's just a
yeah,
strain. But it does require, of course,
yeah.
some rest on that end.
That's also why, like, when we talked earlier about how I read so fast,
Mm,
um, I haven't been going to the gym as much or been
mm.
like active as much, and so I've literally just been sitting and reading,
Yeah.
which has then caused tightness in
Ah,
joints in
yeah,
general.
yeah, yeah.
It's really rough out here at MJG. I'm telling you right now, it is so
That's
rough
rough,
out
bro.
here. It is so
You should get
rough
on the
out here,
bike, bro. Get on the bike and just,
bro. I used to so I have my
breathe.
bro. I have my own trauma with bikes.
Oh,
Well, I
shoot.
okay. You're talking about a stationary bike, and I
Stationary.
understand.
Okay, okay.
I also have a under the desk walking pad down here
Okay, I
that
see,
I
I see.
should use more. I just don't.
Okay.
Um, but I've had a bike stolen from me twice in the span of
Ain't no way.
2 years.
Oh my gosh.
At UTD, I got mine stolen freshman year, and I got mine stolen I think sophomore or junior
Oh
year.
my gosh.
And I was like, you know what, forget it. Bikes just aren't in my
Bro,
fate to have, and so I just won't.
they're like no bikes for Irish.
No bikes for Arish.
What?
Honestly, he can't handle it. He can't handle it. He's weak. Fuck him. Make him
Nah.
walk. He can't handle it.
He needs to run run home and
He
run
needs
to
to
school.
run. He needs to walk and run everywhere he
Everywhere.
goes.
Trying to make you
It's so.
the next what do you call it? Marathon ultra marathon runner or something, bro.
Oh
You
god,
just
I
run
can't do that.
everywhere.
I don't like running. It's just annoying. I like walking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll walk and I'll just stick to that because I don't like running. I know it's good for
I
me.
feel
I
you,
do understand. it would be so much more beneficial for me right now. Can I get my ass up to run? I really can't. It's just
It's
it's
a whole
so many
different
issues.
thing.
MJG. So many. This is why I like to just sit and read. I'm literally one of those people who likes to be fit, but just likes to sit and read.
Hey, when you're fit, you
Um,
are fit. You're both. You have to sit every day.
yeah,
You fit.
I'm trying. I'm trying. But question then: if you're lifting a lot now, how do you stay mobile and not get stiff
Mm,
for dance? Because you're obviously very fluid as well. You do a
mm.
lot of waving, a lot of angles, a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
hard hitting movements, but also a lot of like floor work and other things. So how do you stay mobile and fluid then?
yeah. I think because not stressing so much on how much I lift, but lifting, and lifting to a point where I know it's heavy and I'm getting a good
Mm,
workout. But then I don't ever go 100% in the gym. Like
yeah.
especially if I'm gonna go day after day, I'm gonna do 60% each time. Like because I know like
Oh, good point.
I find myself like if I get sore, then I'm like, dang man, I'm sore. I don't want to do go where I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
be not be able to do so much. So I'm going you know a few reps here, a few reps there, not too heavy here. Then I get my full body stuff and my leg stuff because I could do more, of course. I could do more leg stuff than upper body because just my
Mm-hmm.
legs are just more adaptable to certain things. But lifting. But yeah, upper body, I know myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm not as strong as I know. I think I may be. So I need to not too that do too many pull-ups or not do too many,
Mm-hmm.
upper body stuff or push-ups or fingertip stuff.
Yeah.
So I do a few sets here of this, a few sets of that, then I'm
Yeah.
done, bro. And then I'll do some full body stuff, just a little movement type stuff,
Yep.
stretches, whatever. Test myself, see how I feel. And then I'm like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, all right, I don't feel too bad. All right, I'm done. Like, then I'm gonna go, if I'm gonna train dancing, I'll go do that after, or I do that at night. But then I'm just
Yeah.
done. I don't go too hard because if I find myself going day after day after day, then I'm like, okay, tomorrow I'll focus more on something else. So,
Mm-hmm.
or if I go like once or twice a week, I'm definitely not gonna go 100% because I know, like, oh yeah, I haven't been in the gym, like you said, like I
Mm.
know because I've been in gym, I've been in working now since I was a like teenager. Like I
Yep.
remember like playing football. We had two a days, and
Yep.
I used to live 3 miles from the school, so I had to go run and walk to in the morning
Yep.
to the gym where we had to work out. We had our lifts, right? We had
Mm-hmm.
our lifts for 2 hours, two and a half, and then I have to run and walk back home, and then go
Yep.
back the next 4 hours. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's football training. So during that process, I was like, okay, like you know, the coach would tell us the same thing, like, yeah, do your workout, but we're gonna be here
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow again. So don't be lifting too heavy. Like don't be trying to overexert yourself because we're gonna be here
Yep.
tomorrow, and then you got to come back in a few hours and play football for another few
Yep.
hours. So, so I think listening to that and keeping that in my mind my whole life, I'm like, okay, yeah, I think that's what helped me not get injured. Because
Mm-hmm.
I knew, like, man, I'm already small. I'm not gonna try to lift heavy, and I'm
Yep.
not gonna try to overexert myself. I'm already a small guy, so I'm not built to lift heavy. I'm not built to be a
Yeah.
big muscular guy. So I got to figure
Yeah.
out what my body type is and see what works for that. And now I just translated to college where I had a running coach, and he would tell me about running,
Mm-hmm.
and so different phases. I started learning more and more about the gym and how to approach the gym and training, and then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, of course I've got aches and pains and hurt here and there with dance and training, but nothing severe to where my meniscus tear when I tore my knee,
Mm-hmm.
meniscus. I was playing basketball. I wasn't even doing
Yeah.
anything else, but recovered from that, I started even be more smarter about stuff.
Yep.
So now it's just like almost like, yeah, I know what I need to do and not trying to do too much, I guess, at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I get that. The thing you said about going less times a week, I've kind of done that now.
Mhm.
Because I used to love doing like the whole 5 to 6, seven,
Yeah.
almost seven, like 7 times a week to go to the gym.
Yeah.
But I'm so susceptible to overdoing it
Mm.
that, and also going through like the busy season with
Mhm.
work, I said, okay, if I can only go into the gym 2 or 3 times a week, that's great.
Mhm.
Each day is a full body day then at that point.
Mhm.
Um,
True.
but I just have a bad habit of hitting like 80, 90%,
Mm.
sometimes try and go 100
Mm.
max as opposed to like take weight off,
Mm.
because I just love seeing that 45-pound weight on that shit, man. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
that. As a man, that just does something to your brain.
Yeah.
The caveman in my
Exactly.
brain says big weight looks big, looks heavy. You lift big weight,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
means you're strong.
Mhm.
And I have to remind myself, nah, hit the tens, hit the fives, hit the
Mm.
25s. Like that's your limit for today. Just do more reps.
Right, right,
You
right.
know,
Exactly.
just don't try and go heavy and low reps all the time.
Yeah.
And so even with like once my shoulder gets healed and I get back in the gym, like I do still want to go back to
Yeah. Yeah,
calisthenics.
yeah,
It's just a much slower process now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't hurt myself because all the stuff I used to do was like it took me 4 to 5 years,
Mm.
3 to 4 years to really get to where I was.
Mm.
And then I cut myself dry when I hurt my wrist for a year, and
Oh, okay, okay.
um, so then like when I came back, I couldn't do anything.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
still.
and so
Mhm.
yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Going back to filmmaking, and for anybody listening, the only way I do these podcasts is I just think of shit to ask MJG, and I ask him
That's
as
cool.
it happens. There's no chronological ordering or proper
Yeah.
periodical ordering of these questions, so I apologize for switching things and like jumping from place to place. But I want to go back to the filmmaking thing because this is, I think, hopefully something that will help a lot of people. The first one is: do you have any tips for people who are trying to get into filmmaking, cinematography, short films, etc.? Like, what would you recommend people do to get into it? Whether it's certain kind of gear, certain kind of projects to look for, certain kind of experiences to like look for. Like, what would you recommend?
Mm. It's funny. I was at a school recently, bro. Was it yesterday? Was it yesterday? What's today? Yeah, yesterday. I was I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do some filming and photography at this one school for career day. It's like this private, yeah, I don't know if it's a private school, but it's over there in South Dallas. And
Yep.
me and my team leader, she was like, "Hey, yeah, come take some pictures and photos of of all of the Dallas Park and Rec, doing career day." It's all right, cool. I
Mm-hmm.
go there, and she's like, "Okay, come with me to a classroom." And then, she said, "Okay, now you go and talk to the kids." I was like, "What?" I was like, "I talk to the kids." Like,
Wait, 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 wait.
I thought I was gonna
Yeah.
film. Now I was over here taking pictures. He said, "No, go and share. How
Yeah.
you got to where you are." I was like, "Okay, all right." So it was funny because I shared the same thing where I'm gonna tell you. I was like, "Hey, if you are interested in something like this, like each of y'all have a phone. They're teenagers, so like, each of y'all have a phone. I
Mm-hmm.
feel if y'all don't, then borrow your parents' phone or borrow, or grab an old phone that you may have in the house or something. And that's usually just start with anything you have. That's how I started.
Mm-hmm.
I really did start with, I was starting, and I remember in high school I did a video for my nephew. I just followed him around with the old cheap,
Mm-hmm.
like, back then I think Amazon was it Amazon or eBay? I forgot where I got it online back in
Mm-hmm.
2006 or 7, but yeah, it was just a cheap plastic camera, and I just like followed my nephew around, made a bunch of clips to put it together, made a video, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I
Mm-hmm.
like it." You know,
Mm-hmm.
but and then I started, when I got a phone, started filming ideas from my phone. So I
Yeah.
told the kids, I told, like, grab whatever you have and play around with your ideas. If you want to capture
Mm-hmm.
your every day-to-day life, random stuff, capture it, and
Mm-hmm.
get it, get it on the computer, get it some. I told them about Black Magic Design, DaVinci Resolve.
Yep.
Hey, DaVinci Resolve is free. You can download it
Mm-hmm.
right at blackmagicdesign.com. You can download the free software. You can play with the editing. You can learn how to edit on YouTube. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can learn everything on YouTube right now. It's
100%.
basically, and then yeah, you can edit your own video right then and there. Add music, see how you like it, share it with your friends and family. And honestly, it's just practice and playing around with ideas and what you
Yep.
like, and simple as that. And
Yep.
and then you can, of course, try it again, keep doing it
Mm-hmm.
again till you really, really like it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
starting is always a tough part because people are overwhelmed
It
because you're
is.
like, I need this, I need that. But
Yep.
start with just a phone, start with a cheap
Mm-hmm.
camera. You don't need no audio equipment or nothing. Just start with the basics and play
Mm-hmm.
around, and then that's it. And then you can slowly, if you want to dive into it, then you add, gear, you buy a
Yeah.
proper camera or whatever, and then you can start actually doing stuff that, that sounds better and looks better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, I've been interested. I never used to be interested in shotgun mics because I always
Mm.
had either like this mic
Yep.
or a lav mic that I can connect to my Canon. And recently, I almost bought a $40 Rode shotgun mic
Ah, yeah,
literally
yeah.
last week,
Yeah.
but both the days I was supposed to go buy it, it rained, and so I rescheduled day one, and then day two the guy never messaged me back, so we
Oh,
didn't like
yeah.
it was gonna be on Facebook Marketplace. It was gonna be like chill.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I've been interested in shotgun mics just because like every time I think about like a piece of equipment, I'm like, just what would it be
Mm.
like? I've never used a shotgun mic,
Mm.
right? So now my brain's like, what would it sound like if I use a shotgun mic with
Mhm.
my setup? Well, like how easy it is to set up,
Mhm.
how much better or worse is it than what I do have?
Right.
Um, when I do like to film outdoors, I usually will just hook up my lav.
Yep.
But what would it sound like? What would it sound like if I hooked up my shotgun outdoors in a park and then filmed?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
how far away or how close do I have to be? And like all these questions are really interesting to ask myself
Mhm.
only when I'm in my like third slash now fourth year of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
do making videos.
Exactly. Exactly.
Initially, when I got started, it was just on my phone,
Mhm.
and then it was like I don't like this phone audio. Like, how do I make my audio better? Speaking of audio, and I'm gonna say this on camera. I'm gonna leave it in the podcast to make sure everybody understands that everybody makes mistakes. I don't know how much of the beginning of this recording, but a certain few minutes of the beginning of this recording, your audio was muted in my recording software. I'm so angry because sometimes I'll mute because like I have it pulling Zoom audio and then I have
Yeah,
it pulling
yeah,
my
yeah.
mic audio
Oh,
for
you
my
kinda
shit.
need to. Yeah, yeah,
And so somehow the Zoom audio had gotten
yeah. Bro,
muted,
we've been there,
and
trust
I'm
me,
so
bro.
sad. And it's fine.
We've been
It
there.
happens,
It happens.
That's why we're going this long. And the parts that we missed just means MJG has to come back at a different day.
All
It's
good.
fine.
All good.
Um, but I also apologize to you because
Nah,
I feel like I'm not putting out the best piece of content with both of us in it.
it's fine. It's all good.
But
We make it work,
I
bro.
wanted to, yeah, we gonna make it work. We always make it
We make
work.
it work.
I I want I also wanted to ask in the same vein of like giving tips to people.
Mm.
What would you say? What would you like? How would you advise somebody to make an award-winning film?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
your stuff's gotten recognition now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I feel like you kind of have gotten reps underneath your belt and like
Mm.
have projects that are really good now.
Mm.
So for somebody who's maybe a little bit more now intermediate advanced, like how would you kind of say
Mm.
next level? Like what would you say?
Yeah. So that's always there's different levels, with just like with everything else, right? There's different levels of success or like achievements
Mm-hmm.
and the things I've experienced have been definitely, indie film type stuff. There's so many festivals, so many ways, so many, different awards, festivals for films out there, which is amazing because that means you can see where you're at. When you put a project
Mm-hmm.
out there, you can see how it's feeling, how people are perceiving it. Um,
Yeah.
but the best thing to do is just gather the best team you can if you want to make something,
Mm-hmm.
great. And even now, like it's amazing because there's so much talent with people. There's people
Yeah.
out there with ideas. You don't even need a big team. I've seen people, two-man groups, two-man, tag team do a whole film, and it goes viral and it gets so big and it gets
Yeah.
awards and they get
Mm-hmm.
invited out to do certain things just because of the
Yeah.
idea, and the idea, how they did it, the story, of course, everything is just came together well. So, and they struck lightning in a bottle in a sense, like on their first project, it can be something
Yeah.
like that. So, but in general, getting the reps up and, like you said, um, getting the skill set down, or if you
Mm-hmm.
have a skill set and you don't have another, a certain particular skills that someone else has, gather your people together. If it's one person, two people,
Mm-hmm.
three, and like, okay, we all do this really well and we can tackle this idea the best we can and then see what
Yeah.
happens. But yeah, like it's skills and experience is a big thing when it comes to filmmaking because there's so many
Mm-hmm.
little things, bro, little details, little
Yeah.
nuances, having and you can have all the skill set, but you can be still a terrible person to work with, and that hinders the product,
Mm.
hinders the project.
Yeah.
So it's all a lot of things in one. to make that gumbo, that food tastes
Yep.
good. It's really ingredients, all these ingredients.
Good point.
Yeah, so and if you have too much salt, it ain't gonna taste good. So if you have too
Yeah.
much of this, it ain't gonna, too much of this or that, it's not gonna, go well. So
Yeah.
yeah, just having the right team together or having the right formula to getting it done.
Yeah.
It can be a one-man group, it can be 5, 10-man group, 10-person
Mhm.
group, and just depends. Just depends on what works, what a person can do, what they want to do.
Mhm.
Especially director, because the director
Great.
has the vision and how they want to do things.
Mhm.
So, and what's
Yeah.
funny though, because you say that because the first film I did, right, was Sunny.
Mhm.
It was shot with a small little black magic camera, a little bitty thing, right? And the
Yeah.
festival where I got my awards at, I was going up against guys who had the big Reds, the
Mhm.
big Sonys, and the big 10, 20-person team. And,
Mhm.
my film was just me trying to juggle all these things and then the actors.
Yep.
So, and I ended up winning the awards over all the other big teams. So it's
Mhm.
possible, for one person to be able to come out, with some kind of acknowledgement, on their project versus,
Mhm.
a whole group of people who are coming together and
Right.
their idea may not be, the best or their execution as yours,
Right.
so this depends.
Interesting.
Yeah,
No, I like
very,
that.
very
I like
interesting.
that. This is why MJG is my goat.
No,
Um, I just thought of a question, but I'm definitely gonna have to have you back on next time to
no,
ask this.
yeah,
But I'm gonna pose the question here for you to think about it.
gotcha.
But next time, I definitely want to go down a list of what people think a core member of a production team is,
Mm,
and I want you to explain what those team members are supposed to do. Like, I want you to explain what is the role of a producer, what is the role of a director,
uh-huh,
what is the role of the actual on screen,
mhm,
what is the role of like the audio engineers, what is the role of the videographers,
mhm.
like in totality, not just like, oh, they're behind the camera hitting
True,
record. Like,
true, true, true.
what are they doing? That would be so interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That'd be so
A
interesting.
lot of moving pieces
Um,
for sure.
there's so many moving pieces.
Yeah.
I want to close this off
Mhm, mhm,
with two questions.
mhm.
The first one, have you read or listened to anything interesting lately?
Red. Oof.
Or listened to, like, because I know sometimes, like, we listen to things, we watch things instead of read them, whatever it is. So
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
know, if have you heard of anything interesting lately that you just piqued your interest?
Yeah, bro. I really do. I read a lot. I read the Bible a lot still. I always read it. And not because like it makes me feel a certain way, right? Or it makes me like feel like I know something, right? Knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certain things about it, the Bible I read that I'm like, okay, I'm going through that right now, I'm going through
Yeah.
this. There was one uh chapter, and I think it was Philippians. And there was a person basically talking about his struggles. So like, man, I'm tired of having these struggles. Like, just and it's relatable. When I was reading, I was, okay, yeah, I feel that way too about certain things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm tired of struggling with this. I'm tired of struggling with that. Like, God, can you take this away from me? Like, can you take? I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to, And then God's response, like, no, like you need those struggles because it
Mm,
makes you, it makes you grounded. If I take
yeah.
those away, in a sense, then you'll feel like, oh, like I'm good now. I don't need anything. I
Yeah.
don't, I don't need God. I don't need to be a good person. Like I'm free from my bondages, so I'm just gonna go do whatever I want. In a sense, like
Yeah.
the human nature is. I was talking to this too not too long ago with Amy. Like human nature, especially men, we get some kind of acknowledgments. We get some kind of status, right? Some kind of place of power. We easily can abuse
Mm-hmm.
any authority we given, any platform we're given, it's easy for us to
Yeah.
abuse it. Um, and not saying everyone's like that, but in
Yeah.
majority of, we can go through history, right? With men in places of power and seeing what happens when they're in a place of power, people
Mm-hmm.
can turn to a monster, So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, that's not saying everyone's like that, but I
Right.
feel the nature of men, sometimes we need to be grounded. We need to be
Mm-hmm.
on our feet. We can't get too,
Yeah.
big headed. We can't get too caught up in the wins. We can't get caught up
Mm-hmm.
in the success. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps us just continue to grow as people when we always stay
Mm-hmm.
grounded. Like, okay, some good things happen. We can, take time to appreciate that,
Right.
but then let's get back to the goal, which is progressing. Let's get back to progressing more, and learning more about what to do next and how to get better with
Yeah.
certain things. So yeah, reading certain passages, I was just thinking about, yeah, like maybe I should think about my struggles differently,
Mhm.
which one main one was always money for me. And,
Yep.
and having a family, that was always like I was stressed about money. Like I need to go make some money. I need to pay this bill. I gotta feed Moses. I
Mhm.
gotta take care of Amy. And they're relying on me. I gotta. Then it started kind
Yep.
of me focusing more on like let me just focus on doing what I need to do, the work, right?
Yep.
So, and that's when I think this year has been the start of me not even like not even looking at my bank account. I used to
Mhm.
always look at my bank account, like how much, like, oh, how much I have, okay, and I'm always
Yep.
budgeting for the month, like, okay, I can't do this, I gotta, okay. Now it's more me now. Of course I still budget, of course I manage the finances for the month and all that, but it's not a stressful,
Right.
thing. It's not me just like stressing over
Mhm.
it. I'm just, jobs come up, money comes, money goes, and
Mhm.
focusing on what I need to do day by day
Mhm.
instead of thinking
Yeah.
about if I have enough money for this bill at the end of the month, in a sense.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, reading a
No,
lot just to help
that's
me.
powerful.
Yeah, reading a lot for that, just to help me align myself with what I need to do,
Mhm.
basically.
There's a couple things you said that I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
quickly touch on. The first one is when you're talking about men having done terrible things in the seat of power, which I agree. Historically, men have
Mhm,
done a lot of terrible things in the seat of power, and we have not seen the effects of women
mm,
in seats of
mhm,
power. And it got me thinking,
mhm.
like, I really do want genuinely and want to push women into seats of power. Not in the way of like, oh, I want to see if they do a better job than men or
Exactly.
whatever,
Right, right.
but I do want to see the effects that it has on societies
Mhm,
when more women are in seats of power
mhm,
than men. Like, Queen Elizabeth is her own thing, and we do
mhm.
have matriarchal societies and cultures,
Right,
but we don't have like matriarchal nations,
right.
except for the UK. And so
True,
um,
true.
I would love to know kind of, is it the fact that like, is it just that the men were the issue and these nations do run better with a woman in the seat of power, or is it also a combination of one, the power
Mhm,
itself, and then two, the man or the woman uh, that's
mm.
controlling it?
True.
And so that'd
Yeah.
be so
That
interesting,
is. Yeah,
interesting to like look forward to in the future.
exactly.
Um, and then the second thing you said right at the end was like, not having to look at your bank account. First of all, congratulations. Getting to that point is
Yeah, it is,
amazing.
bro.
It
Yeah,
is amazing because it's a huge struggle to get to that point in the first place.
it is.
And I can understand how stressful it is.
Definitely, definitely.
Um, and I I had the same conversations with like my wife where we're
Mm.
talking about like trying to plan to have a child at some point, and we're
Mhm,
trying to think like, when can we?
mhm,
Thinking like, right now she's a resident,
mhm.
I'm a CPA. Okay, cool. So when she becomes a doctor, is that the time? Well, where do we want to settle down? And it's like, well, now we also have like things to pay off and
True.
things to do.
Yep,
Like,
yep, yep.
me looking at the finances, like realistically, what do we have to cut away to
Mm.
then be able to raise a baby comfortably,
True.
and things like that. And um, so that
Yep.
it's definitely like it's always something,
Mhm, mhm.
and at least getting to the point where you can openly think about these things without having to like scrape your monthly statement every month to figure out like, was I green or was I red?
Right, right, right.
It taking that stress away is powerful, very
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, bro.
Last
You
question,
know?
and I ask everybody this who comes on the podcast,
Mm.
intentionally vague. What is one advice you'd like to give to somebody listening?
Mm. What advice? Oh yeah, I'd say take advantage of the little steps, of the little moments of progression, like the little moments of decision making, whether it's, changing, not eating a certain meal because it's not gonna help your diet, or just,
Mm-hmm.
getting up one day at a time early just to do a little workout, here and there, or turn off the TV, as much
Mm-hmm.
as you can, or not scrolling as much. Like I feel
Yep.
every day doing something small, a small change, or a big change. It could be a big change doing something like that. But one change here and there a day, I feel like that develops, of course, over time,
Mm-hmm.
one thing here and there, because we can easily go a day without doing anything different, right? Without making adjustments. And then I think through time, if we keep going through days without making adjustments, then really start thinking like, dang, what am I doing? You know, how come
Mhm.
this time has passed and I'm not here, I'm not there, I don't feel like
Yeah.
I've progressed in this or that, or I don't feel where I'm supposed to be. Because I've had conversations with some of the dancers recently that felt that way. They get overwhelmed because they know I'm not feeling where where I want to be or I should
Mhm.
be, and not just with dance, but in life and careers and this and that. So, and I said
Yeah.
the same thing, just make small changes a day. You know, every day make a
Yeah.
small change or a big change, whatever you can, because
Mhm.
you know you never know how much time we have, in this life. So little stuff here and there matters. You know, it does matter in the end.
Yeah.
So it does accumulate. You know this because you've trained,
Yeah.
you've done a lot of things, a certain amount of time to see how it progressed.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's just the process.
Yeah.
Instead of like
And every
focusing
time it's the
on,
little things.
yeah, yeah, it's not like a
Yeah.
big plan, right? Like having to
Yeah.
develop a big plan and this. It's just try something,
Mhm.
day by day.
Yeah. I do want to add for
Yeah.
anyone listening, like, understandably, even if you can't, like, sometimes making a little change involves sometimes adding something
Mm.
small, but also taking away something that you're currently doing. Because I've noticed when I'm trying to change habits or like build something different, I can't just add in whatever it is I want to do. Like, I have to take away something that I'm already doing.
Mm.
Like, whenever I step away from content creation or I have a week where I don't have to record and edit and upload anything like that, if I bulk that out in advance, that week I take my morning supplements.
Mm.
I'm up very early. I'm doing chores around the
Mm.
house. I'm like doing these, like, I'm going for a walk. I'm just stepping outside. Weeks that I have to do all these, like, editing, uploading, recording, posting, all those things and all these, like, little things. My brain literally can't do the other things. Like, feels like it has no bandwidth to do the other things, as small as they are. Like,
Mm.
a minute of taking my pills in the morning, it's a minute.
Mm.
And there's mornings where I just don't do it.
Mm. Mm.
Frankly, like, I just don't do it. And so um it's very tough. But what makes it easier is if you take some things away and then add some things. I think really
True.
helps
Basically.
as well. Um,
Definitely that, bro. Definitely that.
yeah.
Wow.
But hey, MJG, thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming
bro.
on
Thank you,
the
bro.
podcast. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. We talked back in 23, and so now we're back in
It
25.
was 23, bro?
It was
Oh,
23
wow.
when I first started the podcast, and it was in the
Yeah,
house, and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
with really bad
You
lighting
said that
and
light.
everything. It was like it was in that room with the gray walls
I like that room though. That room was cool.
before we painted. That room was dope. We painted it cream, and I definitely want to go back because now that I know what I know about lighting,
Mm.
I think I can do a much better job lighting that
Oh yeah.
space.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, these walls are white, so it's much easier to
Mm.
manipulate, like warm and cold.
Right. That's cool.
This is the best lighting I've ever done. I
Yeah, I
think
can
one of the
tell.
best lightings I've ever done for a
Yep.
video.
Yep.
Um,
That's nice.
but in that room specifically, I think I could do better now.
Okay, okay.
Which is also why I'm like, oh, I really want to live there again because I like I would not be able to sell that house or
Yeah.
get away from that house until I live back there and really make
Mm.
of it what I think it could have been. Like,
Okay.
really dig
Exactly.
into that house and think like, this garage can be better. This living room can be better. These rooms can be
Mm.
better. Like, this room that has shelves in the top. These shelves can be used for something I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
so it definitely makes me want to go back. Right now it's being rented out. So I literally can't go back and see my house because it's being rented out. I miss it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
One day, bro. One
but
day.
100%, one day.
One
Where can people find you online if they want to follow
Oh
your stuff?
man. My website, I think my website is probably the best place because everything is there. But it's just mjgfilms.com. And I'm probably gonna change it because it sounds too cliche.
Hmm.
I'm like, I might want to
Yeah.
change it. I may change
Yeah.
something else. But
All right.
mjgfilms.com is just where you can find me. And
Hmm.
any new work that I may be working on soon too.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, bro. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon, bro.
Talk to you soon. How's it going, gang? This is post recording with MJG Arish. I just feel really, really bad that the first 18 minutes of our recording was with his mic muted. And I genuinely feel really bad because the questions I was asking him, I was very interested in you guys like learning about these things as well. And so what I want to do to make up to you guys as much as I can is I'm gonna go back and just summarize what he did say for you guys, just so at least you have the information, and maybe it's not as most detailed, and we can always ask him this again when he's on the next time. But and there were some questions on here that I didn't even ask him, because I usually have my Notion questions and things that I preemptively think about. But I did want to still share with you guys what we talked about in the first 18 minutes. It will obviously be smaller. I will not be recapping the entire 18 minutes in 18 minutes, but with the way that I go off topic and tangent, maybe I will. Who knows? But I did want to kind of just recap what those first 18 minutes have been. We initially just started off with me and MJG just shooting the shit, catching up a little bit, even though it was on recording. And we were talking about, we just got on the topic of books because I had just mentioned books, and he asked, how do you read so many books? Because I mentioned that I'm on book 8 of a series that I started a week ago. So I've read roughly 7 books in about 8 or 9 days. And he was like, how do you read so fast? Also, because I have to read this chunker in like starting probably tomorrow or Friday, I'll start reading this book, Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty, which is a thick-ass book, thick-ass epic fantasy, high fantasy book. And he was like, well, how do you read so fast? So, and I thought it was interesting. So I did still want to recap it for you guys. I read really quickly with like generally three reasons why I can read quickly, right? One, I have a Kindle. So I'm just tapping to go through all the pages. There's no added time of like flipping through pages and things like that on a physical copy. And with the Kindle, it's yellow backlit, and I can enlarge the words, which means I can read faster than how small the text could be on a page like this. Like, look at that. That shit is small. Look at the margins. There's so much more page to use. You know what I mean? And so I use a Kindle, which makes me read aggressively fast. 2, the way the book is written is very easy to read, unlike this one, which is a lot of high fantasy, which means it takes a lot more brain power to read. I can turn my brain off a lot of times and just read books and just know what's happening. And 3, I skim a lot of books. I skim a lot of pages. If certain pages are just walls of descriptive text that provide still value to the story, but not value to the plot that I care about, I will skim paragraphs and pages and things like that. I've skipped whole chapters before. It's kind of my brand now. But that's kind of how I read fast, and that's kind of what we were talking about, is me reading as much as I do and enjoying the reading frenzy that I've been in this month. And then we did get on the topic of him. And so if you guys may not have known MJG and a couple of his crew from, I think it's Shadow Puppets crew, they competed in a jam called Flow Roots, I think is what it's called. The Flow Roots Jam. Let me see. Actually, no, sorry. They went to the Shadow Puppets crew jam that happened in Chicago. But they were dancing on behalf of their crew, Flow Roots Dallas. That's how to put it. So, my buddy Rift, he was on here earlier in December or in January. He got first. We are super proud of him for getting first place in the 1v1s. And then my boy, and then all of the gang who was there, they got first in the 3v3. And so it was Rishi, who is there in the middle, MJG over here on the side with his son, and then Shadows, who's an OG in the scene, of the popping scene. So they also got first, which is a really big Dallas deal that happened this weekend. So we're very proud of them. And I did talk to him a little bit about the jam, about enjoying it. He just did the 3v3. He didn't do the 1v1, but just enjoying it with the crew, battling with everybody. Really focusing in. They trained for about 2 months, if not more, to get their commandos and get their sets and routines right for the 3v3s, and really enjoying just the process of doing it again, given maybe I don't know if he battles much now or not compared to how he used to. So they really had fun with that. We talked a little bit about content creation and like audio equipment and all that kind of stuff. I did ask him what his 2025 plans are right now in terms of filmmaking, because MJG is a filmmaker. He's a cinematographer and a great one at that. And so this podcast was more to talk about his filmography and cinematography, which I'm really much more upset that the initial portion of this got cut off. But I had asked him kind of what his 2025 goals are, and he's working. His goals are to complete two short projects this year. He's already scripted them out. He has music for one of them, and since he didn't say it, or since you guys didn't hear it, the first one is kind of a film about following a homeless person around in their day. And in that way, he scripted it based on the music he received, which has like 5 or 7 different thematic sections in the actual song and transitions. So then making kind of a script through that music, or based on that music, to then give it to either to somebody to act homeless or actually make relations with and know a homeless person who would be open to doing this. That's his first idea, and his second one is kind of like a day in the life of like 3 friends. I think he was interested in kind of doing that kind of script video idea. So those are the 2 projects he's working on that he's looking forward to hopefully doing this year, and then editing them for the rest of the year. Hopefully he does it in the summer and then can do it in the rest of the year essentially. But those are all the recaps. That was basically it. This recap section is already almost 10 minutes long or so, but hopefully, in this way you didn't miss out on everything. You still got the essence of what we talked about initially at the beginning, and you get to enjoy a whole podcast afterwards, So thank you guys for listening once again, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.